Hi everyone, it's Aimee Stonehouse here from Sandtons, and I'm with Peter from Franke and de la Fuente. What do you specialise in? Tell us a little bit.
We are specialized in property transactions. So we're a law firm to start with. We have 4 offices across Costa del Sol, here in Marbella, in Puerto Banús, in Estepona, in Fuengirola, and we're also opening in Palma quite soon.
Amazing.
And we are, as I said, specialized in foreign investments, that is property transactions. That is also everything related to the investment, meaning the taxes, incorporation of companies for investors that wants to invest with a Spanish company, inheritance law, some corporate law as well. But we work mainly with helping buyers and sellers to sell and buy properties.
If I want to buy a house in Spain, what are the overall legal steps I need to consider?
All right, let's try to summarize it as easy as possible. Well, buyers, they usually of course they're working with real estate agents to start with. They want to find the right property. That's number one. We don't mind if they contact us as early as possible to go through maybe the legal process and talk about maybe some taxes, so they are fully informed before they make the first offer or the first decision to buy. But when an offer is accepted, here on Costa del Sol, the legal process starts with a reservation contract. So that's a contract, and that means that the property will be blocked off the market. You put an amount in an escrow account. The seller can't sell to someone else, and so you have confirmation of the transaction with that contract.
Great.
And next step for a transaction in Spain is the due diligence of the property. So that is what we focus on as lawyers, of course. So what we do is we request all the documentation of this property from the vendor, but of course we have to double check everything with the local town hall, with the tax office, and other authorities to make sure that when our client is taking over this property and becomes the owner, needs to be handed over without any issues, to put it very simple. Of course, debt-free, no encumbrances, no ongoing legal claims, etc. So our job is to make sure that the buyer becomes the owner of a property without any issues.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great. That's
and of course, then we have to sign a private purchase contract. Usually, also here the lawyers they do other things for the client. So we open bank accounts for the client, other administrative things. We apply for the NIE number and so on. And we also actually take care of the supplies, so electricity and water, etc.
Wow, so everything really. Wow.
Yes, that's more or less everything. You can only take your bags with you and enjoy.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the difference between buying off-plan to a resale property?
Well, you have one commercial aspect to start with.
I
mean, usually when you're buying a resale property, you're interacting with a private vendor. So there's usually some room for negotiation of the price. When you're buying a new development, usually the prices are already fixed, not much room to negotiate. As a major rule. There are exceptions.
Right.
And then also when you're buying a new development, there are certain regulations, Spanish regulations and laws that protects the buyer. So there are certain guarantees. The most important one is the 10-year guarantee for the structure of the property, but there are also other guarantees that protects the buyers. You also, the promoter needs to have a certain special client bank account with a bank guarantee to back up the project. So there are, let's say, to put it simple, there are more regulations when you buy a new development. And it's a good thing because it protects the buyer. And when you are buying a resale, well, then you're negotiating and you're talking to a private vendor. Yeah. So there are a few differences.
So I think what would be really useful for people to know, what safeguards, protection, if any, is there?
Well, I mentioned the guarantees that you have when you buy a new development. And that's a certain formal process that you're entering into as a buyer. When it comes to the resale transactions, then our job is quite important, I would say.
Okay.
So I always recommend that any buyer gets in touch with us when they have been presented the first reservation contract.
Okay.
Because even though it's let's say a more simple contract, it actually includes a lot of clauses of obligations and rights between the buyer and the seller. So we really don't mind having a look already then, so together with the agent, being in communication with them and the client. Because in this reservation contract, yes, of course, you have the price of the property, the time, the schedule for the process, meaning when are we signing the private purchase contract, when are we going to completion, etc.
Okay.
But many times you have a little part of this contract with special conditions.
Okay.
And that is something I usually talk a lot about because it is important. So any kind of, so it could be, for example, are the furnitures included?
Yeah.
Do I need a mortgage to buy this property? Well, have I made a special condition about that in the contract? Where will the deposit be held? In which account? Because that's of course also important. And other kinds of conditions, it could be maybe if you're buying a house and you see an ongoing damage, maybe there's a water leak, then maybe we would talk to the client about a technical inspection of the property.
Right.
And make the offer subject to an approved technical inspection, so that our client can pull out safely and get the deposit back if after the inspection they find some major errors with the property.
Yeah.
So I think an important part of our job is in the beginning.
Okay.
When the client sign this reservation contract, and make sure that we include all the right clauses so they can safely then move ahead with this future purchase.
Amazing. So Peter, we often get asked, what if a developer is very late with completion? What are people's options?
Well, if we see it from the strictly contractual point of view, there's usually clauses about this in the private purchase contract between our client and the promoter. So it will state in the contract which rights the client have, and usually they have a right at some point to cancel the operation if there are too long delays. But it happens sometimes. It's not unusual that there are certain delays, but I think that the more information about this that the clients have, the more acceptance of it they will have as well.
Right.
Because if you're informed from the very beginning that it might be a few months, take a few months more than what is expected, you can prepare for that better.
Got it.
But if it's a major problem and they know that there's going to be a massive delay, then of course we look into those contracts before our clients sign them.
Okay.
And then they know and they are informed about their rights. If, for example, they have the right to cancel the whole operation, or if they have rights to some penalties from the promoter, etc. But each contract will always be different.
Course. Yes. So what would be really helpful if you could outline the legal costs for each type of purchase?
All right. Should we start with the new developments?
Sure.
All right. So when you buy a new development, a new property in Spain, a VAT is applied of 10% on the top of the price.
Okay.
There's stamp duty here in Andalusia, 1.2%.
Okay.
You have fees to pay to the notary and to the land registry and to the lawyer if you choose to use the services of a lawyer. I usually say around 14% in transaction costs, 14 to 14.5% when you buy a new property. If you're instead buying a resale property, and you need to know then that there are different taxes in different regions in Spain. So we have to now talk only about Andalusia. And here they have a transfer tax of 7%. There are again the same similar costs and fees to the land registry, the notary and to the lawyer. So it's around 10%.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what would be great for everyone to know as well is how closely do you work with other investors?
We have many investors as clients in the office. Maybe I should have mentioned, but we have 25 people working in our now 5 offices.
Oh, wow.
So we meet a lot of people, a lot of buyers, sellers as well. And many of them are actually entrepreneurs, investors. You have highly professional investors. They enter into Spain with a certain project. But you also have clients that wants to mix, to enjoy their property here in Spain and as well do some investments on the side.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a tax department. We incorporate the Spanish SL companies for these clients, and we assist them with the accounts and tax advice, tax planning, etc. From an investor point of view, I believe that it's really important to, if you don't have any experience at all of Andalusia, it's really important to form your own team. So to buy investing properties, you will need a real estate agent, of course, that knows investment products. You would need a good tax lawyer. You would need an architect, a construction company, interior designer, etc. So have your team formed before you make maybe your first offer of an investment product. And then, of course, what we do then is that we analyze the situation of the client, and we study the situation to advise the client on which kind of structure should they use, which vehicle should they use for their investments here. Many times we incorporate a Spanish SL company, and under certain circumstances, if they buy a resale property and they resell that property within 5 years, instead of the 7% tax that I mentioned before, a tax of 2% can be applied, as an example. But for many clients, of course, they have maybe companies back home. They have a certain structure already. So it's not only the transfer tax that it's important. It's also important to talk to them about, well, the dividends of that Spanish company. Is it a holding company in their home country to be the owner of those shares, etc. So we see each client individually to create the best structure for them. And if they have that, the structure, and they also have the team, it's just about finding the products to reach those turnover or profit targets that you have.
Great, that's really helpful. A question a lot of people ask, should I create a company to purchase my second home?
It is a very common question, that's true. We have almost every week we have clients that are considering, should I buy this property as an individual, or should I buy it through a Spanish company, should I buy it through my company in my home country, etc. You have to analyze this. It's the usual lawyer's answer, right? So we have to see each client individually to see the structure that they have at the moment. If they have a company structure back home, let's say, what are they buying? What is the purpose of this investment? Is it for private use, or is it partially even some commercial use? Are they renting it? Are they thinking about making investments in that property? Are they reselling it within 5 years, etc.? And then we give the clients the options and to find the best solution for them.
So some quick fire questions. What would you say the number one thing to think about when buying a property?
Well, from a legal point of view,
yeah.
So I will come back to the point that I made earlier about the reservation contract. I think usually clients, potential buyers, they are doing their research really well. So because you can do that now from home. You have all the videos, the area guides. You can learn about the different areas, restaurant, beaches, etc. And many buyers, when they come here, they have a lot of information already, so they have done a good research. But usually, of course, you only stay for a few days, maybe a week, but sometimes only a few days. And you're occupied with a lot of viewings. And then it can go quite quickly. So you find the property, your dream property, you make an offer, and then maybe you only have a few hours because you're flying back home tomorrow. So what I usually advise buyers, if I can, is to don't rush it. Take your time, take an extra hour, take an extra 2 hours, have a conversation with me, together with your agent, and discuss all the different angles, all the different conditions, all your possible concerns that you have or questions, so we don't leave them out of that first contract, just to make sure. And if you have that, my experience is that then the rest of the purchase process goes really smoothly. When clients get disappointed is that when the communication hasn't been clear from the beginning, and then they go back home and they realize, oh, I forgot to say that I wanted to do an inspection, or how about this, and how about those taxes, and how about, did we talk about the mortgage or not, etc. Right? So just have everything very clear from the very beginning, and you should be fine.
Great. Peter, what do you think? One thing that has been really overlooked when buying a property here?
If I have to say one thing,
Yeah.
I would mention the Digital Nomad Visa,
Right.
introduced quite recently, which also gives you the benefit of staying here full time. So I think read up on that.
Great. So, Peter, tell me, what are your 3 top tips?
My 3 non-legal top tips?
Sure.
All right. I think when people outside Marbella or Costa del Sol think about this area, they think about the sun, of course, and the beautiful beaches, and why shouldn't you? But don't forget about the mountains. I happen to love the mountains, and you have them just behind here.
Yes.
And there are some beautiful hikes that you can take in the mountains. I usually take my dogs, so maybe that's an obvious thing.
Yeah.
And the other one I would say is Sierra Nevada. I'm a skier myself. I love skiing, so it's only 2.5 hours away. You're on the slopes.
Wow.
You could actually go early in the morning to the slopes, and in the afternoon you can hit the beach.
Wow.
I haven't done it, but I've heard about it.
Okay.
Well, and the third thing I would say Tarifa. So you have on the Atlantic coast, you have beautiful beaches just when you pass Soto Grande, Bologna Beach, Tarifa Beach. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Amazing. I mean, after that, why wouldn't you want to move here? I think that will make sense. Peter, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming here today. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you.